So I do have a list here of anime that I've watched, and I'm not gonna go in like alphabetical order, more in the order of what I watched them. So some are there, some are not. So let's get it started. So the first anime we watch is Haigakura. The fifth episode came out today, but I only watched up to episode 4. No, the 4th episode came out today, so I only watched episode 3. So yeah, we're not gonna go in any other specific order. Sometimes it may be going out of order, but that's how I usually do things. Now, the 2 anime I'm not gonna review are Ramna and Rurouni Kenshin because I feel like a lot of people sing those. So we're gonna review everything else. Anyway, with Haigakura, it turns out our 2 main protagonists have not shown up this episode. We're going to somebody else who's basically now the queen mother, whose name is Haku Sayurin, who looks like a guy, but is actually a girl. And we see her life before she became it. She was raised with a guy named Sanu, whose mother was sick. And apparently Sanu's father happens to be one of the 8 immortals, Kan Sayori-sama. And after she dies, he goes and recruits Sayurin to be the new queen mother of the West. There, Sayurin meets a kid named Ichio and meets other people and meets his servant Tenko. And then it turns out Ichio has a master named Saiwa, who actually has a partner named Sayuge. Yeah, Sayunge. And then she learns about what's going on exactly with the world, and that is the 4 pillars are separated and need to come back. They didn't really say what the consequences were if they don't come back, but should they not come back, well, I guess things are lost. So really, it's just a bunch of backstory. We do meet Hakugo, who basically the main protagonists are trying to come after, and Higi the Totetsu, who is one of the 4 pillars, who gave up his leg in order to stabilize things. So that's pretty much Haigakura. So there's a plot with the 4 pillars that need to come back. There's also a plot with the main character needs to rescue Hakugo, or at least like wants to meet him again. So we're gonna see once Sayuri and the main character, once they meet together, there might be some more information that will be dropped. So that was that. Still pretty decent. At least there's some lore drops here. That's all. It's lore drops, which isn't bad, you know. Lore drops are never bad. Alright. Next we have Amagami-san. So, I don't think there's really too many harem hijinks here. At least as much. But there is the plot where somebody comes to visit the shrine and wants to sell the shrine because they're not making money because nobody's coming to visit. So, the MC gives them time by having them get 5,000 customers or they lose everything, because at first he was going to sell the shrine and let them keep the house, but the MC decided no, now we're going to because they love it here, we're going to keep everything going. So now they gotta raise 5,000 customers or they lose everything. So now they're doing all sorts of things like using social media, making viral videos, and giving limited time charms. And they actually go to the town who wants to support them because the town does love them and love the way they do things. So that's the whole plot for the episode, and probably for the next episode too. So we're going to see exactly how much they do. I'm pretty sure, it's only 1 or 2 ways they can go. The first way is that they make it very short, but they still win in some way, shape, or form. Or they actually do make it and exceed expectations. So that's that plot, you know, the classic, we're going to sell this and that'll be it thing. It's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. And the manga is still ongoing, which means that he hasn't chosen anybody. I'm not sure how good that is for this rom-com, but some rom-coms, they don't like to extend like their whole thing together. The whole thing. So we're going to see how this works out. I don't know if anybody's like in the lead, or maybe they slow down, but we'll see how that works out. Alright, next would be Arifueta. Alright, so some episodes that aired today, and I haven't watched those. These are like from last week. I'm gonna try to do something as a weekly thing rather than just say, okay, this and that thing. because I feel like trying to do it as a daily thing might be a bit difficult. So the group arrives to the town and they see that there's a lot of slavery going around with multiple different races, and so they decide to gather intel to find out exactly what's going on. While they do free Shea's people, which is the bunny girl right here, they realize that the bunny group wants to go to war with the Empire for all the transgressions that happened to him, and Hajime decides to help them, but not by fighting, but by doing other things. I think some of the highlights is, first off, Hajime and Yui are very active. And what I mean by active is that they want to go la 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 together. And that's fine by me. You want to go la 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 together, go la 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 together. And then the other group, because they kind of split into two groups, and this is the group that's with the high schoolers, they go to Sentai Ranger, which was funny. And now I'm suddenly reminded of a lot of things that, deal with certain rangers. So basically, now we're building up to this whole war that might go on, and I'm really sure that the classmate with the glasses that betrayed him first off, she's going to come back at this point. I'm not sure, because she is a main antagonist. I don't know if she's going to appear this season. It might happen. Or we might just go with the whole Empire thing. Who knows? Not much for lore here, but that's what happens with here. All right. Next, yeah, I'm not really going too. I hope I'm not going too fast. Hoshifuru. I said I was going to drop this, but I changed my mind. I'm not dropping it anymore. But when it comes to some of these anime episodes, sometimes I don't want to be like that kind of person who reviews it and it doesn't like it. I want to actually have some sort of like decent coherent thoughts to some of the stuff. So, let's talk about Hoshifuru. So, MC Nina is learning all the tips and tricks about how to be a princess, but also learns that this guy, Azure, is pretty much throwing his life away just to follow some sort of agenda. So she decides to go to another kingdom to ask for help. I know I'm just kind of abbreviating it and bridging a lot of things, but but a lot of it is just kind of like in between stuff. But she does learn more about him as she goes to try to help him, and it turns out he's in the same position as her. He's been adapted to royalty to take over somebody who died that looked just like him. And as it turns out, the other kingdom knows about this and spares his life thanks to her intervention. So then they have a nice talk, and that's when he finds out more about how he operates and everything about that. And then it ends in a kiss. Well, 3 episodes in, they finally kiss. I mean, cool, but now she's got to think about that the entire time she's going through it. Like, oh god, now I got to think about the fact that I kissed this guy. And it's like, well, I guess, baby. Maybe, I guess. Yeah, you do gotta kind of think about that for a bit. But, it is what it is, I guess. Ooh, I got a lot of anime to watch today. I'll take care of most of that tomorrow, but that's not here really there. But yeah, it turns out it's getting a bit more interesting now. So I haven't watched episode 4 to see exactly how this is going to play out. Because now she knows a huge secret, and that means that they're more connected. But I'm wondering when her other childhood friend is going to come back. Maybe he might be into it as well. He might come back. Because I think he might come back as probably one of the guards and sees that she's actually enjoying life. And might get mad at her for enjoying his life. Like, oh my god, we're struggling. My brother's dead and this and that. It might be interesting that way. Who knows? I just want to see if my mic was on, because if my mic was off, then that would be so embarrassing. Hey, alright. There we go. Hanako-kun. So basically there's only 2 major parts. So first they play a whole bunch of TV ads for some of the yokai in there. And we got Miss Daikon Legs, because that's what I call her now. I know she has a name, but I call her Daikon Legs. She buys a bit of half from it. And the second part, Ahana Cocoon takes over a cafe, or at least watches over it. And you got Daikon Legs with a friend coming, and then all the hijinks ensue. I know they have names, but that's why I call them, because that's what that's the one thing I got from Daikon Legs. Of course, it's officially radishes, but Daikon. So yeah, the last episode is appearing, I think, today. So once that happens, it'll be it. They said there's a second season, but I don't know if this is a second season or there's an actual second season coming through. I feel like this is just like putting drips into here and there just to keep people interested until the second season comes in. I don't know. Maybe this might be the second season, but we'll have to really look into it to find out. Alright. There we go. Kamino Hoshiran. Alright, so this is the next episode I watched. Because, like I said, I'm watching these kind of out of order, so it's not going in any order. Now I'm just looking and putting it up here just to make sure you guys know what I'm talking about. So, basically, they catch the person whose name is Winter, by the way. And Winter reveals that, the person that they caught is about to blow up along with the police officer, the female one. God, I forgot her name too. La ha ha. But then here's the big reveal. All the times were manipulated. So basically everything was an hour earlier. Kamino Hashi, once he figured that out, he had a backup plan in the form of Spitz, who saves the two. And now Kamino Hashi is trying to figure out what's the whole thing with the 96 scar that's on his neck. And before Winter can actually say anything, Winter is supposedly killed for failing the mission. Because that's how Officer M operates. They kill people who fail the mission. So now without a lead, they have to figure out what to do next. But it turns out Winter survived because he was saved at the last minute by somebody mysterious. So what they got for the autopsy was somebody completely different. But unfortunately, House of M decided, now we're going to do that. And the person who tried to kill Winter failed, so now they're going to kill that person along with Winter again. So basically, it's just a whole bunch of more mystery on top of the whole 96 and House of M thing. So this is just kind of wrapping up the current mystery and how they did it. And trying to get all of that in there, as an actual review, is actually harder than you think. Because they kind of play with, talking about it, and, I'm basically writing down notes to find out this and that, this and that. It ain't bad, but it's a lot to take in. It's quite a bit to take in, but just so you know, yeah, when it comes to doing mysteries, you do got to work from the ground up, like how this and that happened, and you also got to figure out, how the whole thing can actually take place in a coherent way. So thankfully, everybody survived. Everybody survived except for Winter and the assassin. They're probably going to die. They don't really do any previews for the next episode, so we don't know exactly what's going to go on. But we do know that they are a step closer to figuring out how Alpha M is operating in all this, and the meaning behind the 96 scar. It is a manga, so I'm pretty sure the manga has more information on this, but I ain't trying to go into that for now. So next is Rise. When what a starter we have with the episode. With Kirishima head deep into a woman. It's like, well, that's a way to start off your anime. Imagine kids are watching that going, yay, we get to watch Rise One Tiny. And just, Mommy, why is he licking down there? Well, it turns out Kirishima has a lot of other women on the side. I don't know if this specific woman's going to come back. Maybe she might. Maybe she might not. All we do know is that he is heavily infatuated with Yoshino. Heavily infatuated. To the point that he's stalking her and including watching her while she sleeps. Obviously, she doesn't like that. And it's just basically a lot more, back and forth between the two. Basically, she doesn't like him, but he really, really likes her. Later, the clan leaders have a meeting, because that's how Yakuza really operate. And both of them learn more about the grandpas, about how they were kind of, I guess, Kyodai. I don't think they were Kyodai, but they were very close to the point that they actually said, well, our grandkids can probably marry if you have if one of us has a granddaughter and one has a grandson, and there you go. So Yoshino does meet up with her family because, you know, they want to see how she's doing so far. They get the information, and they learn about one specific family member, Soma, who's basically been like her older brother. And Kirishima looks more into it because he does want to know more about her, but he's going about it in a very, very, very creepy way. And finally, at the end, Kirishima and Soma meet, so we're going to see how that plays out the next episode. But what I am curious about is how many other women Kirishima has, you know, on the side. And does this particular woman ever come back? I did try looking into whether or not she comes back, and I don't know, and they don't have too much information. It is still ongoing right now, so I'm not sure exactly how much has been going on. And yeah, some of these anime have been appearing. Yeah, some of the anime I'm doing have appeared, you know, today. But after we're done, we're gonna go to like the ones that that we're already caught up with. So these ones I gotta watch, you know, that came out today. These ones I have to watch. So, but we're not gonna get into all that. But yeah, that's one thing I'm really curious about. Like how many other chicks does this dude have on the side? Yeah, that's probably the most interesting thing to me. And are we gonna open with something like that again? I don't know. But as it turns out, Yoshino herself doesn't really mind that he has side chicks. Because her goal is to basically just marry him and then dump him on the spot to break him. Well, we're gonna see how fair that goes. We're gonna see how that goes. Alright. Now we're getting to ReZero. Oh boy, ReZero. So as it turns out, the Witch of Envy isn't dead. At least fully. She's not fully dead. Okay, I just want to know. I want to know certain. Don't worry about it. Anyway, Witch of Envy isn't fully dead. There's a lot of disciples going around. And Reinhardt's father came back. Oh boy, but it's Kenjiro Suda. Oh boy. Kenjiro Suda, I love you so much. So the whole fight while Garfield and Mimi did meet like some of the disciples, they lost badly with Mimi being almost dying. And Elsa, who apparently Garfield killed at some point, is now haunting him. I had to find that out through other spoilers. So there you go. So now the whole group has gotten together and has made a group to look for Lust, which is part of the Sin Bishop representation. And it turns out while Subaru himself thinks he's very useless, the group says he's not as useless as you think because he gives them hope. And they finally run into the two who hurt Mimi, because that's the two people who fought Garfield and Mimi. And they hear a voice after going on throughout this entire episode, and it turns out the voice belongs to a dragon who's now the Sin Archbishop representing Lust for the Witches Cult. They don't really defeat them, but now they're running to the Archbishop representing Gluttony for the Witches Cult, which is Julia, Subaru, and Krush. And one thing we haven't really seen is Subaru's dying. We see a lot of people get injured, but we don't know exactly if there's a save point right now. Excuse me. But I think that's the most interesting thing currently. We don't know where there's a save point that's happened after that, or when the save point is. Because Subaru is heavily injured, and everybody else is getting heavily injured, so we don't know when the save point is going to happen. Or where is the save point. That's what I'm curious about. Like, well, we'll see. We'll probably see next episode if there's a save point, because they ran into somebody that's really dangerous. So we might see Subaru make Subaru go back and return by death at that point. But we don't know exactly when he's going to do it, how it's going to happen, and how many ways he could probably, go about it or prevent it. But that's the one thing many people are looking forward to, how he's going to die. And that's usually the most excruciating thing of them all. Alright. Next is Sengoku Yoko. So, everybody's heading to the main final battle, which is located in Daigatsu main temple, where everybody's pretty much gathering. I'm just pointing out the highlights of the whole thing, because some of the stuff that goes on in between is just kind of like I won't say it's useless information, but it's nothing that's really like important to really think about for the moment. It's just them basically talking and padding to get to certain points in certain episodes. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's not. So there's a whole war going on, and you know, you have the dragons on one side, you know, getting into it, and they're all fighting different clones. And the MC's father is pretty much like the big prize of it all. Whose Dinyu or Nadare. I forgot the MC's name. God damn it. Oh god. See, this is what happens when you kind of watch a lot of things. You gotta remember certain things. But yeah, basically, it's a whole war going on. Then certain people join the battle. Tama comes and joins the battle. That's really that. You know, you have everybody coming in to join the battle. With Shakugan coming in to join the battle. Nadare now joins the battle. So basically, everybody's so important to join the battle. That's really the whole thing about Seiko Kyoko. It's a final war, and everybody who's important is coming in to join the battle at some point. So we're just highlighting the people who come to join the battle who weren't there from the beginning. So Shakugan's there, Tama's there, and Nadare's there. Everybody's coming in to join the battle. So, and we got the next one, Waju Sushi. So, we got these two making the new group called Blue Beyond, and they get a job fighting thieves. Want to kill the whole group? It turns out the people who hired them, which is the mother and father, want to kill them to get out of paying taxes, and getting out of the whole I won't say pay taxes. They want to get out of this whole deal they made with the Gambino family, which is a new antagonist. But the family's daughter actually likes Noel, but when she finds out that Noel doesn't really give a crap about them, she hates him now. And one of the reasons that Noel is doing the whole thing, like wanting to be supreme, is because he wants to join a regalia, which is a hierarchy of like top tier clans. And he wants Blue Beyond to go up to that. And then we learn more about Alma, who is the girl next to him. It turns out, instead of being the granddaughter of the person, she's actually the daughter. And it turns out she was kind of made into a laboratory to be like this big fighting machine. But as it turns out, they don't need her. They don't need a skill like that anymore. Or her skills are, or they don't kill just to kill. They kill for a purpose. So now she's seeking for a purpose in life. And when they tell her about Noel, that's the reason she's pretty much seeking out Noel and clinging to him as much as she wants to. So we get some of her backstory and why she wants to get with Noel. And we learn why Noel wants to be like this huge person. Okay, I want to figure that out. So basically, it's just how Noel feels even if he runs to the old people. Like, he's very quick to discard anybody who's useless to his grand scheme of things, even if they build up a whole reputation. And it turns out he's very more insightful than he wants to be. You know, keeping a lot of people at arm's length. Because he doesn't trust a lot of people, which is fair. You know, if you're in this world and you're a talker, you want to make sure you know who to trust and who you can't trust. So Noel has the right mindset for it. It just wasn't, you know. Even in the beginning, he knew that he wasn't really like angry that they betrayed him. He kind of had an idea for it, so he's kind of like taking everything into like future consideration. It's just, I want to know, like, if he runs into another talker, are they going to be just as smart as him or not? That's the question I got to ask. Alright, next would be Yokai Gakko. Alright. So, as it turns out, Haruaki goes to a different class to learn about different, about how, well, not a different class, he learns from a different teacher how they have to do with yokai. And we learn about all sorts of different ones and how different they kind of can be. You know, certain ones have different ways of being described, such as some more action, which have, you know, more action to them, and some more will yokai. You know, we gotta look into more information on that. But as they're getting into it, and the teacher, who's basically an Oni, gets drunk, Haruaki exercises the entire school because he's being attacked. And then they got another subplot where some students don't want to take the huge exams and decide to slack off, but get their games taken. So now they're going through this whole entire spiel to get everything back. And it's basically just hijinks from that point. So basically just more comedy. We do learn more about yokai, but this has been a ton of anime for yokai. It's like we learn more about it, and some people probably already done research anyway. Because we have we have a number of anime that have yokai. We have Gekike no Kitaro, which has a lot of yokai, because that's been what got it popular. And we got Yokai Watch, which actually continues it. So basically, this is kind of just like, revisiting some of it and getting a little bit more insight on some more yokai. Really, it's just more hijinks when it comes to school-related stuff. But, add yokai and the person that exercises things. And you basically just got like the whole, contrasting and, similarity thing. That's really it. Alright, what is next? Danmachi. Alright, so you got your boy Bell being like the main protagonist to get to spin the neck with Seer. Seer tries to put the moves on Bell, but because Bell's a young 14-year-old boy, he can't really reciprocate. Then comes the next day where Bell is told, look, you can't just abandon her like that. You gotta give her some sort of answer. So he goes looking for her, but he gets attacked by the Freya family, who doesn't want to meet Seer. But after getting past everybody, he finally does meet her, and she confesses. Unfortunately, because he's so hard up on eyes, he rejects her, unfortunately. And it turns out, surprise, surprise, because some people have said this and pretty much made it into all sorts of theories, Seer is Freya. Anybody who's know about Freya will know this. They've looked into it, they analyzed it, they've done this and that about it. So now Freya decides, well, I tried to see her, saw it, now the time is Freya, I'm going to go to war. Hestia, that dude is mine. You don't deserve him. He is mine and mine alone. So now, what a twist that is. But the real thing is that now it might be another war. It's not even a family war between Freya and Hestia. So I wonder how this is going to go. Especially since a lot of the Freya family is very loyal to her. Almost like a cult. There's a cult within the Freya family. So, that's interesting. That's going to be a very interesting tidbit that's going to happen. We're going to see how that works out. Whether they're going to get other help or not, whether other families going to come in or not. We're going to see how this war is going to go. I think that's what it's building up to. Alright, next we have Virisa. It's still ongoing. So we have Arya, who cosplays this girl right here. She tells the story about how she first got into cosplay, which is with her father. Unfortunately, he was a very struggling manga artist and didn't really do well. Especially as manuscripts kept getting rejected. Her parents divorced, and the last conversation she had was that she hated him and his manga. And she's been trying to find him ever since. She thinks that, cosplaying some of his old characters might get some more information. So now they're preparing for Comic-Con, which is pretty much where like the big cosplayers can go. And they bring back Mikari, who is the MC's childhood friend. And now they make the 4 ensemble for Lilia. And after, getting together to develop the costume, they develop bond together. It's pretty heartwarming. But then Arya learns from her mother, at least overhearing her mother over the phone, that somebody died, a male, and it might be her father. So it turns out all her efforts may be for nothing. So this is the episode that actually explores Arya's backstory, which is cool. And also explores the fact that Comic-Con is coming up and it's getting everybody together to do this whole Lilial thing. So now we got the 4 main people coming in to cosplay all the 4 main characters, all 4 main girls to Lilial. So yeah, so we're gonna see exactly what happens next episode with Arya. It might be a red herring, it might be true. only way to find out is to watch next week's episode, which is coming out in 3 days. So make sure you pay attention. Next we have dun 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 dun. So basically, this is just Momo and Okarun taking on Turbo Granny, who I realized was voiced by Mayumi Tanaka, who's also the voice of Kuririn and Luffy. So good trivia there. So it's basically just a bunch of like dun 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 with Science Star doing whatever they can to make sure it's interesting, and it is freaking interesting. Like Momo and Okarun make a really, really funny duo. They really do. And they fight a giant enemy crab. Unfortunately, they don't hit its weak point for massive damage. So basically, they released Turbo Granny for Okarun, and now they're going around town trying to fight not only Turbo Granny, but this giant enemy crab. They finally defeated by riding a train to go faster than Granny, I believe. Or basically just like, you know, keep her going. Because they both travel different miles per hour. And guess what? Okarun got his Mimi back. And that's it until the next crisis. They part ways. Which is sure to be next episode in 2 days. So yeah, like I said, this is basically just Science Sorrow basically making Dan 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 like really crazy. And yeah, it's a very crazy show. Very high rated, I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, Momo and Okarun make a really funny duo contrasting each other. And they actually do play with the whole like cooking a crab by talking about how why a crab is good when you boil it, because its muscles tighten and get tender. And I see that it goes red too, which is actually pretty delicious. Actually, that's pretty delicious if you're into crab. But the fact that, well, yeah, I think anybody who's watched the PS3 2006 presentation will know about the giant enemy crab bit. Yeah, so yeah, if you've seen it, yeah, giant enemy crab. It's funny. That's really the highlight of the whole thing. Okay. Now we get to Dragon Ball Daima. So, once again, it's a bit of a lore dump. It's a bit of a lore dump for the world of Dragon Ball, because there's a lot you can get out of Dragon Ball at this point. Unfortunately, Akira Toriyama is no longer with us, so we can't get any confirmation on some of this lore. But, hey, I'm glad we get some more lore in here. So it turns out there's 3 worlds, there's 3 demon worlds. They're traveling to the 3rd world, which is where Deborah was the king. They have to get to the 1st world, but unfortunately it's blocked by some sort of force field. And there's no easy way to get through it. So while they're exploring and getting some lore dumps, Glorious turns out it was sent by the current Demon King of the 3rd world to take out the main antagonist. I thought it was a sister, but it turns out it wasn't. And Supreme Khan realizes that Glorious seems to be a little too knowledgeable about certain things that only higher up people should know, so he gets a bit suspicious. But anyway, they stop by a place to stay, and Goku, you know, being the Saiyan that he is, gets something to eat, and then we get some good old fashioned Dragon Ball action, which is actually interesting because now Goku's in a smaller body, so you don't really see too many flashy effects. You just see really good martial arts that Dragon Ball was known for before they went to Dragon Ball Z. So it's basically just him getting used to his new form, using a power pole, using all this, and still eating along the way. Which reminds me, I'm actually kind of hungry, so I might go and get something to eat after this whole review thing. And the plane gets stolen the next day because, you know, everybody doesn't like how they do things. So yeah, this is all just a whole bunch of lore stuff. We have yet to meet the girl that's going to appears in the ending, or in the opening, so you might see her next episode. But yeah, this is basically just a callback to form for Dragon Ball, and also a bit of lore dump for the current Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. So, overall, a very interesting episode, I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of glad we get a bit of lore dump. You know, the world of Dragon Ball actually needs more lore to be explored. Next, we go to Hitori Bochi desu. So, they finally make it to the town. And Haruka, again, tries to escape as many ways as possible, but gets stopped at all points. They do register as adventurers, but unfortunately Haruka can't because he's very low on the totem pole. And Clash Rep won't let him leave for whatever reason, one reason or another. I don't know why. Any plan he has, like the 2 places he wants to escape, both fail because somebody stops him at those turns. So basically, the whole episode is basically Haruka trying to escape and nobody wanting him to. We do get something in the end where it turns out the men of the class are fighting, but one of them gets killed. And it shows that somebody is killing, you know, all the boys. We have an idea. We may have an idea about who, but we'll have to see the next episode to really get into like that kind of thing. So yeah, I really want to see exactly when Haruka's going to escape from everybody, because he wants to, and they're not really letting him. I mean, to be perfectly honest, at this point, I don't know. He's kind of like the janitor who knows a lot of stuff versus the people who are higher up on the hierarchy but can't really do much. That's the contrast I get out of here. You know, oh, I'm high up on the hierarchy. Oh, we're high up on the hierarchy, but we don't know about the little common stuff. Commenter, teach us things. So he's basically the commenter to their rich people. So that's Hitori Bochi. Then we get Kikkan Suru. So Taki and Rika are going back to Takio's hometown to tell their family about the plan to see, you know, how they'll react to it. And we get to know about Rika's childhood, which is her mom is very busy and is basically overworking. And instead of being like that very depressing, she basically imagines like traveling to all these places with her mom, which is where she gets her love for maps. She likes to travel a lot, or at least likes to imagine herself traveling to these places with her mother. Father's out of the family because, you know, because reasons nobody knows. So while going to the house they're going to stay at, they meet Takuya's paternal grandmother, who takes him back to the house, and she gets insight on Takuya basically saying that, yeah, you two are going to marry, which we probably already know. They said 365 days to the wedding, and we know that they're probably going to fall in love because that's how they work out. And Rika suffers heat stroke because she's not used to this whole atmosphere, and then they finally meet Takuya's father. Well, not they finally meet, but they meet him at the paternal grandparents' house. So this episode is just basically them warning what they're going to do about the plan and Ruriko's backstory, which is interesting because usually these kind of backstories, like I said, are kind of sad, but this time it's not as sad because she does want to give Rurika a good life and probably have other people looking after her. But Rika herself also just likes to imagine all these places she could travel with her mom, and that's a good thing. You know, it's good that she actually wants to imagine traveling to these places rather than be the same depressing child. But I never wondered, like, if she actually ever traveled to any of these places. Like, she loves maps, but I ever wondered if she actually traveled to any of these places, like, anywhere. It'd be interesting to find out, actually. I'll be interested to find out if she actually did travel to any of these places. Like, any one of these places. Like, not just in Japan, but like around the world. But we'll see how the meeting with Takuya's father goes and whether or not they'll actually meet the rest of his family to discuss the plan. Next would be Maho Onna. So I mentioned last time that the seven mysteries of restaurant are around there, but now we get more lore dump on Miss Suzuki and some of the magic has been going around. So Miss Suzuki takes everybody out to get some potato because she says that magic is actually within nature, And because of that, anybody can theoretically learn magic as long as they know the know-hows. Which is why she kind of taught them shapes first, because that's the core basics. And she takes them out to learn within nature. It's there that we kind of start learning that not only is Mirai's grandmother grandmother taught her like some of the shapes, but we also learn that there's actually two factions to the whole magic thing. There's the modern magic faction, and there's the ancient magic faction. The modern magic faction is the one that is basically like, oh, our magic is better. And then you have the ancient magic faction. The ancient magic faction is the one that wants to tell you that anybody can learn magic, while the modern one is basically only select few can learn magic because they have inherit this and that. But unfortunately, nobody knows why there are two factions. Like this, so that's why the Magic Research Club was invented, to actually learn more about it, because I think within the library of books that they're in, there's at least like some sort of info. We also learned that Miss Suzuki and Mirai's grandmother might be part of the ancient faction. At least Miss Suzuki is. And they're actually saying some sort of like theory that she might not be coming back, because according to the end of the episode, they said, oh, it might be the last time we might see Miss Suzuki. I don't know what, that might be a bit ominous, but we'll see exactly what happens next episode for that one. So, once again, we get some lore up on the whole magic thing. So like I said, there's two magic factions. There's the ancient one and there's the modern one. The modern one wins because it's more modern and only select few have it, so there's a hierarchy. The ancient magic basically says there is no hierarchy. It all depends on whether or not you want to learn. So that's why Miss Suzuki is there, to make them learn about it. And like I said, there's 7 mysteries of restaurant that's going on right now, and that might affect the entire world. So Miss Suzuki is basically preparing everybody to combat whatever is going to happen. We don't know much about these mysteries for now. They did name a few of them, but they seem like school mysteries. But one of the mysteries might have to do with something of the world. I guess we'll find out next time. Next is Mega Ude. So we got our boy Hikaru going on his first mission today. Alright! And they encounter the worm type I'm gonna call them triggers. I know they have an official name, but I'm just calling them like the worm type trigger thing. So anyway, Aki herself runs into one of them, is thinking about her family again. And we got Jun, who they fought and awoken he got his powers. He's now in a school on the grounds that he can watch over them, but can't activate his stuff. And then he tells Hikaru about Alma, who belongs to the person who founded the Yagami group, and that's why he kind of belongs to their family, because Yagino founded the group and Alma belonged to Yagami. Then they encounter another worm type trigger who more likely belongs to her sister. And at the end of the episode, yeah, I guess that is the case, because they're not exactly subtle with this kind of thing. They weren't exactly subtle with saying that, yeah, her sister is on the opposite side. Like, maybe the parents are dead, but sister's definitely alive, especially when it's like a twin. So that's going to be a big fight between them at some point. But they lose Carex, who was introduced only this episode, who was attached to Tiny, who was also introduced this episode. And now they need Alma to help prevent those kind of tragedies altogether. So, first off, why should I care about Carex and Tiny? I don't know much about them. They were just introduced. But I guess it's more like, Carex is basically alive, just like all the other Mega Udes are. I guess that's what it's called. They're called Mega Udes. I call them triggers, but now they're officially called Mega Udes, because I'm reading the synopsis right here. They're called Mega Udes. Sorry about that. But anyway, that's all that really happened this episode. You got Hikaru going on his first mission, Aki basically meeting more worm types and then meeting the sister, and Jun basically now being part of the main cast for the most part. We do learn a bit more about Alma, and apparently there is a group called the Yagami group. who's part of the family that Jun is part of, because his name is Jun. So we have Jun, Hikaru, and Aki. Remember that. Alright, next is Negaposi. Alright. Negaposi Angura. Okay, there we go. So, the episode starts with Sasaki not really understanding how that particular convenience store works because there's a lot of things that deal with fishing. But it turns out, it's because of this girl with the big hair, Hana, she likes fishing. So much so that she's responsible for the whole stock of the whole fish thing. But, as it turns out, she's a bit of an oddball. Because she actually is still in high school, she goes to school, wakes up very early to go fishing, still manages the whole store. And yeah, I like her hair. Her hair is very, very bouncy. But she does go teach Sasaki how to do different types of fishing and use different types of lures. And you know, we learn more about how fishing works because not everybody is a fishing expert. And I kind of realized fishing itself is actually a really interesting thing for people to get into because it's just like it's kind of like golf. You're not exactly into it, but there's a huge sport for it, and you don't really appreciate it until you try it. And I did try fishing once, honestly. Fishing was actually very, very fun. And we did learn about Hana's backstory. She turns out she lives inside the store because her parents divorced, and her grandmother owns the store. So this whole thing is about her and Sasaki getting a bond, and I initially thought it was going to be a bit of a romance between them, but it turns out that might not be the case. Just a nice, brotherly, sisterly bond. And besides, this dude right here might have a, he might have a eye on Sasaki. So, it's basically just more about Hana and how she fits into the whole story. So, we might learn about this dude's backstory at some point. Maybe next episode, but we don't know. All we know about it, this is basically just her and Sasaki. So they're bonding, and I do like her. I really do like her. I wonder why she has all that hair, though. Maybe it's an artistic choice. Thanks, Nut, for giving us that choice. So now we get to... Oh. I can skip this because it's the 4th season, so I don't need that. Thank you. Anyway, Sword Art Online. So this is basically... So, nothing really happened. It's just basically... All the other teams, Team Memento Tomore, and Team Zemo, they're all just, it's basically just talking about how they're doing within this tournament. And Len's team basically surveying the entire, Len's team surveying the entire damage about what happened. What happened with the flood that took over everybody. So as they're surveying the damage, a special rule takes place in where one member from each team will be a traitor, and they all form this one huge team. And of course, Pitohui happens to be the traitor for Len's team. Okay. So now basically you just get Len versus Pitohui versus the team leader Shink again. So yeah, basically it's just Len versus Pitohui Electric 2 Boogaloo, I guess. Not many people are really excited for it, but we'll see how this plays out. I'm actually wondering who's going to be the traitor for Shink's team, because that's a team that they're technically fighting against. Oh, excuse me. I wonder what Len's going to do at this point, because she wanted to fight Shink, but now she has to fight Shink and Pitohui, who is a really good player in this game. So we're going to see how that works out. Next is Trillion Game. Oh boy, Trillion Game is actually a rarely... Oh man. I really like Trillion Game, I'm not gonna lie. I really like it because of the fact that Haru is a really, really interesting character. Gaku is good too, but Haru is super interesting. So we're starting with another character, Mitsuki, and actually got involved with Gaku. I'm not sure if they're going to be like a couple, but they look like they actually can get along because she is his assistant. And yeah, this does actually confirm that Haru and Gaku have made it, and Gaku does sort of quote-unquote flashback to this moment where he did win the hacking tournament. But how they do it is actually very interesting. So Mitsuki actually is riding with someone named Katoing, because he wants to attend the event to find these two people, Haru and Gaku, who made this huge ass name, because he finds them very, very interesting. So the hacking event is an attack and defense where you have to defend your own castle while attacking the others. And because Gaku is the only person on his team, Haru does something that's actually really interesting. Before the event starts, he goes and distracts everybody so Gaku can log in 1 minute after the event starts. And it turns out he did it because now everybody logs into a fake account that they can't really get it. Fake account that Haru set up to be quote unquote disrupted, while Gaku logs into a new one. But and after the minute, after everybody is done, after everybody tries to figure that out, they find a working server they can log into, which actually gives Gaku everybody's passwords. So now that he hacks them, he didn't know about this. Now that he hacked them, now he's beating everybody else. And it turns out Kirihime thought they were going to lose, but then when she came back, he saw that, oh my god, I love you. And now that it's like, yeah, they're kind of talking about the whole sleeping together thing, which makes me think that Haru and her are going to get together. They kind of make it seem like it's an innuendo, but I think they're actually really going for the whole, yeah, they're not just sleeping together for funsies. They're actually sleeping together. No, that'd be just them just sleeping together. They're going to do it. I'm sorry to confuse everybody, but yeah, they're just going to do it. And Katoing is just Katoing's like, yeah, I see you guys now. And that's the kind of stuff I came here for. I was a bit interested in you, but now I'm not interested. But as soon as I seen that, yo, now I'm interested in you. Haru, you got something. Gaku, you got something. And, this dude lost because he was trying to get back at them. So yeah, and it's 26 episodes? Oh, we in for a good meal today. We in for a good meal. Oh man, Trillion Game. And it's my Madhouse. Don't let me down right now. I'm keeping a really good eye on you. This rating is balls. Trust me. This is a really good anime. If you guys have not seen Trillion Game, trust me. Trust me, these two are really, really good. Alright. Here we go. Shangri-La Frontier. So, Sunraku sacrifices Emerald because, he likes to do that because they're after her. But then it turns out, Saigo Zero's older sister, Saigo 100, actually is getting everybody together, including the professor, who's the little girl with the man voice, mind you. So they're getting together to discuss, the unique monster, because there's also Lycagon, who Sunraku faced earlier on, and then they also talk about Wezamon. So that's trying to get about, all the unique monsters to try to see if they can actually, come up with a plan to defeat them all. And since Sunraku, Oikaso, and Pencilgon fought Wezamon, they get all the information from those three. And then when it comes to Lycagon, Sunraku's the one person who faced him and lived to tell the tale. And Sunraku himself gives out really good information about Lycagon. Just from one encounter, he gives out information that many people think will take multiple tries to figure out, but he gives it out in one try, which means that he's more of a gamer than many people really think about. But he also always talk about Rabitua because he thinks that's what they want to talk about, until one of the other people, Animalia, questioned about, hey, how can you get a repeat pass? Because it seems like that's one place that you get like a 1 day pass and that's it. Like you go in there and that's it. But Sunraku gets a gets a pass that lets him go and come when he pleases. And he probably doesn't know much about it, but asks Emilu, hey, is there any instances where that happened? And she goes to check for the older brother. And then Pentagon now wants to ask for an alliance between all the clans that are right there. We don't know what that's going to entail, but we'll find out next episode. So this is basically just about two people getting together to figure out hey, we got some elite bosses we got to beat. So we need more information about how to go about this because some are roaming around and they're just chance encounters, while some are only available after you get to certain parts. So for the ones that people have encountered so far, what's your info on this? So this is just a whole bunch of guild leaders getting together to discuss this kind of thing, which is very common for a lot of game, guild raids. You get a whole bunch of people within multiple guilds. You go inside this one raid for different bosses. So it's basically just planning for a raid, really. That's what it's about. This is all just planning raids. And anybody who's played MMOs or anybody with raids, they know that planning this stuff is not exactly a simple 1, 2, 3 thing. You need all the information you can get. And anybody who's like experiences, anybody who's met people who has done raids, they need info. Like how to go about this. What damage, how much damage can we do against these kind of bosses. So it's a lot of stuff like that. Especially when the raids get harder and harder. So Wezermon and Lycagon are kindly raid bosses. And Lycagon's one of those bosses where you have a chance to counter with. And there's another one you have a chance to counter with, but since it's high in the sky and it flies around, you can't really find out more about it. And as it turns out, they only know about 5 of these 7 unique monsters. So there's 2 more that haven't been discovered yet. And I guess that comes when they do the updates to the game. Thankfully, this is not a trapped inside a game thing. This all takes place inside a game. And it's actually really interesting when you are a gamer and you play MMOs before. So that's the one thing I do like about this. It's interesting that way. Alright, so some of these I watched today. I don't know Miburo. So we got our boy Neo visiting the place he's staying, which they also call the place that demons live. Because now everybody there is demon. So we're getting introduced to everybody that was part of the Shinsengumi, and most of these names are very well named, very well known names that everybody should also know at this point. And they all get into sumo wrestling because they wanted to offer activity. So on the first mission with Neo, he's forced to think about what he views as justice. Whew, I got a lot in me. So what he views as justice is whatever he thinks it could be justice for. Whatever he thinks could be justice. It's not something that everybody has like the same idea about, but it's whatever you view as justice, that's how you view it, and you have to hold on to those convictions. And everybody is different. Everybody's different, even criminals. Everybody has their own conviction of what they think is justice. And when those two convictions collide, sometimes they can be similar and sometimes they can contrast. And when they do contrast, they end up fighting over it. And whenever conviction is stronger, that's the one that comes out on top. And unfortunately, everybody dies and everybody's conviction is not as strong as the other. So Neo ends up finding out his own justice, because after he saves a little girl, he thinks he's failed because he didn't catch the criminal, but turns out that's not exactly how everybody views justice. It's the little things that you have, like either taking down the criminal or making sure everybody around you is safe. And I guess that's what he wants. He wants a place where everybody can safely cry and enjoy life. And if that's his conviction, that's what he has to abide by. So I'm glad he found his conviction. And then we got Serizawa killing somebody. I don't know if it's a betrayal or whatnot, but it is Serizawa. So everybody knows what a Serizawa is. It is a very famous name. That was Aono Miburo. So we're not sure what's going to happen in the next episode. We'll see what happened with Serizawa. Next is Meido-sama. So the reason this episode, Yuki transfers to the school. And the reason she transfers is because of connections she had from her previous organization and because of Imoto-chan, who's also named Riko. And as per Wanton, when it comes to high schools and anime, yakisoba bread is pretty much like the big thing. That actually sounds yummy. Let me see. Now I want to try some yakisoba bread. Is that even near me? Oh, there is. Wait. I think I know this place. I think I know this place. if I'm not mistaken. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is easy. Yeah, yeah. All right, I don't even know what this is. So I could actually go try some yakisoba pan at some point. Not now, but when I ever get the chance, I could try it out. That's good for me. Because I always wanted to try out some yakisoba pan. I always want to try out like a lot of different Japanese dishes. Thankfully, I live in a place where there's a lot near me. So later we get insight on Riko and what she wants and why she likes Yuki. It turns out she wants an older sister. You can imagine her older brother's one at one point, and now wants to marry her brother Yuki so she can have an older sister. You know, big brain moves. Then we meet somebody from Yuki's past, which is a schoolgirl student named Nita. I don't think it's a real name, but she's from the same organization as Yuki. So there's going to be some conflict between those two people. And it turns out Nita wants to crush whatever Yuki has. So we're going to find out how that's going to happen next time. I don't want her to, well, I won't say I don't want her to do it, but we get more insight on Yuki. We get a bit more insight on Riko, which is not exactly that whole thing. But overall, it's just basically enjoying school life. And thankfully now I can try out some yakisoba pan. Thank you, anime. I didn't think about it before, but now I got it. I'm glad. I'm pretty glad. Next we got Mao 2099. Towa-sama makes an appearance yet again. Praise Towa-sama! Praise her! She is Maji Tenshi. We love you, Towa-sama. Keep being as amazing as you are. But setting aside the goddess for a second, Vetol does get into the whole streaming thing because he is a streamer. Because now he's a streamer, and he starts with a Dark Souls clone called Bloody Spirits, which is also known, hilariously enough, the subs actually gave me BS. I had to laugh because it's like, wait, you're saying the game is BS or the whole thing is BS? Because that would be a very funny insider joke. Like, oh yeah, the game is called BS. Like, is it really BS? It's BS. Glad to know it's BS. But thanks to Takahashi, he does gain 1 million subs over time, and is actually a very popular streamer, and his way of talking does interact with his audience. And I think this is on YouTube rather than Twitch, because there's nobody on Twitch right now who has 1 million subs at this point. Because even Iron Mouse, I don't think even Iron Mouse broke the because Iron Mouse right now is the top sub streamer on Twitch. And yeah, it's million followers is one thing, but subs, no. So yeah, this is definitely YouTube. But he does meet Graham, who was the hero that killed him in the first episode. And it turns out Graham's been given eternal youth and has been fighting a lot ever since. And at this point, he's just tired. He is just very, very tired of fighting. He's been doing it for so long that he's been very tired. And it turns out the current modern world doesn't need a hero like him. I wonder if he's actually going to go to streaming or do something interesting like Veltol. Veltol is. Cause that's his name, Veltol. It might happen, I'm not sure. But that'll be interesting to see exactly how they do his part. And then Veltol joins Takahashi on her other job, which is, being a thief. We do get more insight on his subordinate who took him out, on Vetol's subordinate who took him out before, and it turns out he has 2 projects going on. We don't know what those are, but we're going to find out. But hey, more Towa-sama. Praise Towa-sama! That's always good. Always good. So yeah, I'm actually wondering how they're going to do Graham. Like, is he going to do the same job, or is he going to just wander around? Is he going to be involved in the final battle? I don't know. Alright, next we have Nagaki no Bure. So we get another insight. So we get insight on another childhood friend, which is C3 Smart, who's also known the Prodigy. She leaves Kai with a slime who's very dangerous. That slime supposedly is now gone and escaped, so now Karai's basically worrying about it in the back of his mind. We also learned that the wolf's den that Karai saved Tino's party from is getting more dangerous, and it's most likely thanks to the slime. Most likely. We don't know why C3 made that slime, but maybe we'll find out when we actually meet her. So anyway, it turns out Liz really likes Karai and is training Tino to the point they're nearly killing Miss Tino to death. And it turns out Thousand Tricks, which is this dude, is looking into something. There's more backstory going on with a lot of other things. They also mentioned somebody named Sophia, who I'm guessing is this girl. So basically, all of Karai's friends are being involved in some way, shape, or form. I don't think we met him yet. We never met the big guy, but he might come in later on. Liz wants to go on a date with Karai because he snuck into his bed. And she finally does go on a date after fighting with another guy. But apparently Thousand Tricks are spying on them, or at least looking out for them for some reason. So yeah, we're just basically more insight on Karai's childhood friends, because they're now involved more with the plot. Because there's more plots going on. You know, we got Citri, who has the slime. Thousand Tricks was looking at everything. Sophia, who I'm assuming is this girl, who took a vacation because now she's not there to watch what Thousand Tricks is doing. Liz is going with Karai. This dude hasn't appeared yet. And Tino is just being Tino. So we'll see what happens with that slime later on. Next we have Patikara. So yeah. The guy, Margulis, he's an ass. He's a dick. Including his bitch, who's also a dick. So, the Blades of Lightning are fighting the Hydra. The Blades of Lightning right now are fighting the Hydra. And it's pulling out some tricks that they don't really know about before. Like it's pulling the Despair to energize itself. But before they can die, Louse comes and joins the battle with his girl. Well, they call him Roust. The subs say Louse, but it says Rouse. I'm gonna just call him Rouse. Anyway, he comes to join the battle and saves the young mage who was knocked out. But the Hydra's gotten smart enough to 1v1 Louse because he senses that, yo, Louse, I hate you. I don't like you. I want to 1v1 you. And Louse apparently is strong enough because now he's some sort of demon. Because he has the Oni horn that came out. And after Louse defeats the Hydra, Regulus comes and wants to cash in on all the glory, and turns out Sieg finds it out, and it turns out he's the representative of the guild who looks over different party members to find out if they're being bad. So while Narcina hits Regulus, which is this idiot right here, I'm assuming. Anyway, after she hits him, it turns out Sieg actually captures Regulus and his girl for trying to traffic Arima to slavery. Because that's what they said, oh yeah, she's useless. But so Margulis and this chick is running out of town. I don't care to remember her name because her name is irrelevant at this point. And Sig, Lyra, who was the healer that they hired after Louse left, and Arima now form a new party. So now they have a new party. Loust and Narcina based by themselves. So we're gonna see what happens that episode. So I did say that he was basically the party members that was secretly OP, but it turns out was useless because he did do a heal that was basically layering heals, which Lyra actually said that's like taking multiple pills just to quicken the effects. You don't do that. So that's what Louse did. He basically did basic heal to quicken the effects, and yeah, compared to other healers, he's different. But we don't know exactly what's going on. We'll find out down the line. I don't know what to do in next episode. It might just be more Louse than Narcina, or Lyra in the gang. And the last anime I watched is Suma Shokakusei. And this was actually a very, very sad episode because turns out Marika's mother, whose name is Chika, had it rough. But to get into the whole episode, Marika breaks the news to Keisuke and Mai, who take it pretty much with stride since she's in Saitama and they're not that far from her. Mai calls up Aikawa but gets rejected, but he calls her back, to say, hey, Merry Christmas and all that. But then the highlight of the whole anime episode is Chika, Marika's mother. She was looking forward to getting married, and I was looking forward to seeing that too. Unfortunately, the dude who was going to marry her and move out to Saitama already had a wife and kid and was tricking her. And she is rightfully pissed off at this dude. Rightfully pissed off. And she was very much willing to reconcile with Marika. Marika herself wants to try to do right with her. And cooks her almond rice. Chika sees it and wants to be alone, but realizes, you know what? Maybe this is going about the wrong way. Especially since Marika kind of had her whole life together, and it's basically learning from experience. But now realizes that not everybody can do the same thing that she can, and now she's in a child's body. There's a lot more restrictions that she have, and the whole thing with Chika realizing her daughter is going out to see these two people, Keisuke and Mai, that was going to be something that was going to be found out, and they did find out in this episode, near the end. And Keisuke finds them and rightfully does tell Chika's mother, hey, you shouldn't yell at your daughter like that. But it's hard to blame Chika because her daughter is basically acting so different around her versus around another family. And she doesn't even know the full story behind it. So basically, this is the Chika acting as a mother saying, what the hell is going on here? What the heck is going on here? So this episode, I felt really, really sorry for Chika. I felt super sorry for Chika. Because she wanted to get her life together and has had a very terrible life, but unfortunately, that was just not meant to be. It was not meant to be. And Keisuke kind of ended the whole episode with saying, she is my... we don't know what he's going to say. We do know that he is infatuated with her in some way, shape, or form. Even foregoing the fact that because she's a child, he can't exactly go and say, oh yeah, she's my wife that reincarnated, so I'm trying to spend the last moments I have with her. So I'm trying to spend the moments we missed together. It's like, ugh. Why would you do that? That's terrible. That is terrible, my friend. Oh. But, I think that's all the anime I have for today. Yeah, I reviewed all the anime except Ramna and Rurouni Kenshin. Uzumaki is complete, so I don't have to do that again. Yeah, I did all the anime. I should probably do that a little more often, get to all that. Save it for like a Monday kind of thing. But hey, that was fun. Ugh. Hope you guys enjoyed the review as much as I did. Watching this anime, I realized I shouldn't really try to do anime like that. I shouldn't, but it is what it is. I gotta be a bit more insightful with some of these anime. Try to talk, but like I said, I like to talk to the more, bullet points that happened. Cause that's what I usually do. I'll talk about the bullet points more than anything. Cause there's some nuances there, like, animation and whatnot. But basically just talk about the content I'm given. I'm sure I could talk about the production of it all. But then it's kind of like saying, well, now this and that. Alright. I did say he was going to try to do something else, so I guess we can start some VR chat.